Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're here for another Monday minisode in the middle of July.
Yeah, Monday minis. We love our Monday minis. This is where we get a chance to focus in on one topic here. And today we're talking about how to make sure that you're listing consistently on eBay, because we all know listing consistently, that's going to be the key to making money, triggering that algorithm, and having items in your store so people can actually buy it. If you're not listing, you can have all the items you want in a death pile and they're not making any money. In fact, they could be costing you money.
Losing money every day.
Right.
So here's the thing. This is a tough one, but to list consistently, you need to have consistent inventory, right? And hopefully if you're listing consistently, you're selling and you have cash flow and you're able to source more. And so be aware of that, because, you know, a lot of people talk about listing consistently and a lot of you are going to go, well, that's great, but I don't have the inventory. So you got to find a way to get consistent inventory. Yep. Were you going to say something there? I kind of cut you off.
No, I think that's right. You got to be able to do the sourcing in order to list. I mean, that's like the key. That's the foundation. If you're not sourcing the items, you're not gonna be able to list. I think for a lot of people, the sourcing isn't the problem, because most of us have some death piles.
Okay.
But for some, sourcing is the problem. So you definitely need to be able to source consistently in order to list consistently.
But you have to find like a consistent avenue of sourcing. So if you're doing part-time, right, it's not a big deal. But if you go to full-time and you want to list consistently, I would say even if you're part-time, you want to scale part-time, like you have to know, like, this is the thrift store I'm going to, or this is the pallet I'm buying, or this is the avenue that I'm sourcing. Like, you have to have a constant source of inventory or else you won't be able to list.
Yeah. And one of the ways to do that is to have a specific niche or multiple niches that you know, and then you can focus on. So I'm really big on, you don't want to be too wide, but you got to have somewhat of a net. I think I take more of a shotgun approach in a lot of ways. I've got several niches that I understand I do well. I've got saved searches on OfferUp. I've got saved searches on eBay, and I know what I'm looking for when I go into a thrift store. So by having that, it makes it a little bit easier to get that inventory that I need, because I know, hey, I know these types of books. I know these types of comics. I know these types of cameras. I know these types of board games. I know these. And so I've got the things that I know. And because I'm kind of niched, even though it's not like just one, because I know people who only sell RC planes and that's all they do, and they make a ton of money doing it. And by doing that, they actually can source better because they know what to source and how to source. For me, I'm not that locked into one. So being a little bit more surface level on multiple helps, but having those saved searches, having what I know what I'm looking for, and then I'm not wasting time. I'm not wasting time because I know what's going to be easy to list. I know how long it's going to take me to list it, to ship it, and how profitable it's going to be. So I'm not wasting time buying items. And I did in the beginning for sure, and I still do sometimes, that are going to sit there, because one of the things that's going to keep you from listing is you're sourcing things in a niche that you don't know a lot about, that you're going to spend a lot of time learning, and maybe it's not profitable, or you've got to test things. You're like, man, I just really hate doing clothing, hate taking pictures of clothing. So it's going to take you a lot longer to list them if that's what you're sourcing. So the more you're into the thing that you understand is profitable, you know how to list it, so all that to be said, the more focused you are, the faster listing is going to be for you.
So, and I'll give you an example here. You know, I just had some huge hauls, all kinds of, inventory, whether it was board games or cameras, a pachinko machine, Hot Wheels. I mean, it was all kinds of craziness. That's going to be a lot tougher to list. Where, when I had a Rain Spooner haul and I picked up, 30 Rain Spooner shirts, that's going to be easy.
Right.
I just organize it together, take pictures at the same time, do measurements at the same time, list them at the same time. So similar. And so that's what Mike means by niche down also, is that if you have too many things, right, it can get really difficult. And sometimes it's worth it because you do find a lot of profitable items. But if you want to hit that consistent number, you definitely need to niche down. So next, you also need to have a dedicated space. And the reason I say this is because I've gone from a world, and we a lot of you may be here, where when I was in a smaller place and I didn't have as much room, I remember to list, like, it would require, this is before I even had a light box. I'd have to get out the vinyl, a white table cover from the dollar store, tape it up on my wall, and then I'd have to, bring out the lights and it moved the kitchen table, and it just became a whole ordeal. And so I was kind of like, you sit on the couch and it's been a long day. You're like, I'll just do it tomorrow, right? Or I'll do it the next day. But now that I'm in a space where I have, 2 light boxes ready to go at all times, everything is, there's nothing in the way of me. I have no excuses. I'm way more consistent about listing because I have no excuses, right? Even when I got a light box before and I was in a smaller space, I'd have to like get the light box out. I have to make room on the table, put it on the table. And there are just a lot of obstacles. So if you can have a dedicated space with, no obstacles, that's optimal. I know that's not optimal for everyone, but if you could just try to make it work, it'll definitely help your listing.
That's right. And that kind of goes along with the next one is because a lot of it comes down to your routines. So when you have a dedicated space, you've got a routine going. You know where to go. You've got a shipping station. So things are easier. You know where things are. Things are faster. Another routine you need to have is a specific set aside time for listing. If you go about your day and you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do today for eBay? I don't know. Maybe I'll get some listings done. I might do some sourcing. You turn on the news and you're eating lunch and you're doing, next thing you know, the day's gone. You're like, oh, I should probably get some listings done. Maybe I'll do them after these errands I have to run. Chances are you're going to keep pushing it further and further back. I've talked before, one of the earlier like quotes and books we talked about was that the concept of like eat the frog, like do the thing that is the hardest task you have to do for the day first. And so maybe for some of you that's listing, and maybe it's not first, maybe you have to pick another time because you've got work or something. But as soon as you can, you need to set aside a specific amount of time and you need to say, hey, I am going to list today for 2 hours and I'm going to do that between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. And it's set aside. You've got it on the calendar. You're going to do it. And if you set how many you're going to do in that time too, we've talked about this with, I think it was in the 4-hour work week, is when you set a specific amount of time for something, it'll fill that time. If you give yourself 5 hours to list, I'm going to list 20 items in the next 5 hours. It's going to take you 5 hours to list 20 items. But if you say, I want to get these 20 items that I have right here listed in the next 2 hours, there's a higher chance that you'll get those done in that amount of time, because the amount of time you take to do something fills the space you give it. The bigger space you give it, the more time you're going to, I can take a break for a minute. I can do this. And let me check this on. Oh, that's a cool thing I found on eBay. I wonder if other ones sell. And you spend more time getting distracted as opposed to between 6 and 8 p.m. I'm going to list 20 items. And it's non-negotiable. This is what I'm doing. You set aside that time and it happens. Or you do it first thing in the morning. I hate listing. So I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to list. And then the rest of the day, it's not hanging over me. I know for some people, when you have something like that hanging over you, the rest of your day is just brutal because you're like, I'm at work and all I can think about is I still need to get those listings done. I hope I get my listings done today. And it's just over you. And it's constantly this like the black cloud. Whereas if you were to say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get my listings done. And then the rest of the day, whatever, I'm good. Yeah. I did that hard thing that I didn't think I was, it's no longer over me. I've got it done. It's done. I feel good.
There you go. And I got to tell you, that's been the toughest one. Like for me, I have a consistent time. I usually list, I know it sounds going to sound terrible, but between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., that's my listing time. That's awful. Mike's like, I'm about to wake up for the morning. But that's my time. And I spend those 2 hours and I always have a plan of listing close to 25. And usually I get it done during that time. And so be consistent about those times. And usually what happens is I'll put on a movie. My son knows anytime we watch a movie, I'm listening. Like I can't just sit there and just watch a movie. So you got to make it happen. All right. And then last of all, it has to be a non-negotiable, right? If you want to grow and you want to scale, it has to be something like, whether it be, I'm going to do 5 a day, 10 a day, 15 a day. And what you'll find is once it's a non-negotiable, it'll be easier to list even more on top of that. So you'll be able to go, hey, I did 5, I'm going to do 6 this week, 7. Next thing you know, you're doing 10, you're doing 15. So it has to be something you do every day that no matter how tired you are, no matter what goes on, you make that time. And if you're able to do that, it's just going to be something that's built into your habits. We did this whole book review on Atomic Habits, and it's how you build in habits to habits that you already have. And so, for example, I had mentioned that I won't watch a Netflix or an Amazon movie or whatever without doing listing. And so that's already a built-in habit, and it allows me to make listing non-negotiable. So it's very key. So again, be consistent about your inventory, niche down what you source. Make sure you have a dedicated space. Make sure that you say, hey, I'm going to list this amount at this time, and I'm going to make it happen consistently. It's a non-negotiable. And hopefully all these factors will allow you to list consistently, which will make you more profitable. And with that being said, it makes you be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.